fill out all those forms. I remember Shlomo Mintz, who I met just there and then, helped me out to fill out all these forms, which were completely, you know, strange to me because I never filled out an American form. I just arrived in the country the day before. So, but you know, with friends and colleagues, you can get by. And once I started my studies, then I could play the violin, whatever violin I was playing it, I guess, pretty well to be noticed. Sure. And so 2 months later, I won a competition right there at Juilliard, and I became very, very popular within the school. So from then on, you know, I was always called to do this job or that job, or to play chamber music, and everybody wanted to be my friend. It's lucky that I had my skills with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, was it your intention to stay as a performer? How did you get off into conducting and composing?
Oh, that came much later. Yeah. Much later. I didn't really think about conducting for at least 12 years. While I was, you know, I was a very, very busy soloist, and I remember seasons when I would be playing almost 150 concerts a year, just as a violinist. So there was no real reason to go into conducting, and I was also running a festival. I was playing a lot of chamber music. I'd already started transcription, so there were a number of activities that were available to me. And since I was quite successful, I played with all the major orchestras, and you know, I was much in demand. There was no immediate reason, certainly no career reason, for me to start venturing into conducting, but I was always interested in sort of expanding my horizons as a musician. So it came sort of natural from solo violinist and chamber music, and then I formed chamber orchestra, and eventually came to the symphony orchestra and started doing bigger things. So because the repertoire is inexhaustible for a conductor, but it is exhaustible for a violinist. And you know, I've played more than probably 60 different violin concerti just with orchestra, that hundreds of chamber music pieces and so forth. So this is already more than most people do, even if they stay only as violin soloists.
I should say, yeah. And as you said, you've soloed with practically all the major orchestras in this country, and Europe, and
absolutely,
and all over the world. How would you contrast, or is there a contrast between, say, the American orchestras and the European orchestras?
Yeah, there is a contrast. There is a contrast in the way they run, and there is a contrast in the way they play. They run very differently because in America, as we know, we have a board of directors, and they are in fact the owners of the orchestra. They are the ones who run the orchestra. I mean, there's an executive director, who's hired, and the music director who's also hired, but the permanent body of people who are responsible to raise the money, to spend the money, to be fiscally responsible, is the board of directors. If the board of directors is good and healthy and enthusiastic, you have a thriving orchestra financially. And if something goes wrong with the board, something will go wrong with the orchestra. In Europe, it's very different. They get, most European countries, they get state subsidies, city gives money, so sometimes the mayor decides everything, or the governor, or the cultural minister. And as long as you have a good one, you have smooth sailing. And when the times are not so good, they could close you down, up to sometimes one person.
Well,
so you know, it has advantages and disadvantages, both systems. And as far as playing, as far as style, I mean, American orchestras are usually very, very good and quick to grasp the basics of. They sight read well. They're usually well prepared for the first rehearsal. But Europeans, they have usually more rehearsals outside of England. England doesn't. But they have more time to get to know the piece, and they go often beyond just what's on the page. You can talk to them in a more metaphorical way, not just play it softer or louder or faster or slower. American